What is going on, Wolfpack? It's your boy, the Wolf of Roto Street, rotostreetjournal.com. We breed and feed fantasy wolves. Here, it's Friday, and that means it is time for a big board update. Tons of drafts going on this weekend, getting the DMs all over the place, which is great. I love it. But now, to make sure everything is up to date for you, I'm going to be doing my live ranking update. We have all the news and notes on the sides we're going to pull up for the risers, fallers, and emerging sleepers. So get the most up-to-date rankings for your weekend draft now. And I'm going to start with two rookies who have definitely risen up my ranks. That's Cam Akers and DeAndre Swift. Let me just show you exactly how high I have them now. Because one, we got Darrell Henderson out in training camp, which is giving Cam Akers plenty of time to separate and really take away that gig. We know Malcolm Brown is still involved, so he is a little bit questionable still. I can't just shoot him all the way up into my, dependable RB2 flex tier of guys. But now I'm getting a little more comfortable, not a ton more comfortable. I still like hammering RB, especially if Jay Taylor's there in round 3. But if I take a wide receiver, one of those Allen Robinson, Adam Thielen types in round 3, I feel comfortable knowing I can get Akers or Swift, who I have a little bit lower, just because I hate this offense. The Lions offense has always been relying on committees with freaking not Bill O'Brien. Who am I thinking of? Matt Patricia. It's just always disgusting. Bob Quinn was the name that was coming to mind, always preaching a committee approach. So I've bumped him up a bit, though. Kerryon Johnson coming out and saying, there's nothing I can teach the guy because he does things I can't do. Just kind of quitting, it seems, in this. So I actually like Swift more than some of these tight ends. I love Evan Ingram, so that's kind of where I would draw the line. I don't know if I'd go QBs over any of these guys. I think I need to give the QBs just a little bit of a bump down. We'll see. It could just be a matter of bumping Ingram above the DAC and Swift above him. I'm just getting more and more comfortable. We saw all those seasons with Theo Riddick. Matt Stafford definitely likes to have a pass catching complement. Reggie Bush was there. And Swift can do things that none of those guys could do potentially. We haven't seen it yet. But I'm starting to get higher and higher on Swift. I wouldn't take him above guys like Marquise Brown. I think Hilton and Marquise Brown belong in this tier, and I think Marquise Brown belongs above Hilton. But ultimately, Swift could kind of get it right in here. And I think, Boy belongs there. I would settle this tier like this. So ultimately, I like Swift and Akers a lot more than I entered the offseason. It was, for me, the Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins show. But these guys are a clear path to some work, which makes me like them even more. And I had J.K. Dobbins in my clear 3. He still continues to climb. At this point, I bumped him up to 75 right behind Ingram. But, man, I would take him over Fuller, Cooks, like Ronald Jones. Mostert's kind of where I draw the line because he apparently is separating right now in camp. So, ultimately, I might draw the line there. But J.K. Dobbins, I'll bump Ingram up too. But ultimately, I think he can take this job. Every report is he's making highlight plays. He's running with the ones. He's dominating right now in camp. So ultimately, I really like him to thrive as soon as he takes that job. Ingram's 31, and I think it's going to be sooner than some people think. I like Ingram. Ingram's a solid player, but ultimately, I think J.K. Dobbins takes that job sooner than we all think. He's already projected for a big week 1 role because of how he's dominated in camp. So I'm a huge fan here. Good morning, Jeremiah. Good to see you. Anybody out there, any comments, likes, shares, always very appreciated. So thanks so much. Makes me feel like I'm not talking to air when I have some interaction here. That's why I do live shows instead of recording these and then, post editing. I like to have the interaction. So hit me up with your questions, comments, anything that looks off to you, let me know. And I'd love to talk about it. But J.K. Dobbins, definite riser, another big riser this week, a huge riser. I'd call it Damian Harris's week. Damian Harris, all the reports have just been sensational about this guy. I think I take him even above McCole Hardman now. You see how highly I bumped him up now. That Zach Moss, Philip Lindsay. When I do my best ball drafts, to me, the guy that I keep getting pissed off I don't have is Damian Harris. If he goes in round like 11 right before I'm about to pick, that's the one I'm feeling like I just slap the knee and I get pissed off. I think the guy has genuine 10 to 12 to 15 even touchdown upside. Like we saw this with Garrett Blount just a few seasons ago where there was a starter ahead of him, but the starter wasn't really lighting up camp, was dinged up, and whoever was available ended up becoming the guy. That was Blount. He had a 16 touchdown season. This is going to be a ground and pound physical attack. That's going to be all about controlling the offensive pace of game and just slowing it down to let the defense win things. So I'm a huge fan of Damian Harris and what this offense should be with him and Cam Newton. I think they're definitely going to be ground and pound attack.
All right, let's try and hear back.
So he has gotten a huge bump up the rankings this week into my top 100. And again, a guy that I must get alongside like Jerick McKinnon, alongside, these must-have sleepers. In fact, I'm bumping Marlon Mack down because the next guy on this list, Nyheim Hines, I might even rather have him above Marlon Mack at this point, has very humongous PPR upside. And I have not bumped him up yet. So let's find where I have him on the rankings. Nyheim Hines. 157, definitely getting a solid jump up here over, some of handcuffs I love, Benny Snell, but over Bryce Love, who, very uncertain role. All the reports are that Nyheim Hines is just catching everything in sight, maybe has caught more balls than anybody else from Phillip Rivers. The last time, love this tweet from Sigmund Bloom, the last time anybody had, anytime Phillip Rivers targeted his backfield less than 100 times, was never. He's always done it. His running backs were like second, almost every single time on the team in terms of targets. And right now, it seems like that guy could be Hines. As the report said, it hasn't been just one practice or 2 or 3. It's been 2 straight weeks. Hines has been everywhere. Maybe all that talk of him having 75 catches isn't that insane. Think about that in PPR, 75 catches from that guy. So he needs to keep climbing even above like the upside handcuffs at this point. I feel like this is very usable, solid numbers. I put him right up here. David Montgomery is going to get a bump up. We're going to talk about him in a second. His injury is definitely some news, but more so he's not going to be as long. Injury is not as serious as we thought, so he's going to get a bump up. But Hines is, right here seems to make sense to me. I think he goes above Marlon Mack at this point if he's having this enormous of a receiving role. It's kind of like that Tevin Coleman argument for you in the 49ers. I love Jerick McKinnon taking all that receiving work. I love Mostert as the early down guy, but why would I want the number 2? Because we know Donatel's going to take this job sooner than later. Why would I want the number 2? Give me the upside carved out roles. And to me, that's going to be Hines and Taylor. I imagine this becomes a 2-back committee much sooner than anybody else is expecting, I think. So ultimately, that's where I lie with Nyheim Hines. So you're thinking a 50-50 split with Dobbins, Ingram, as I was just saying, maybe not right off the bat. I love getting Ingram. What's going on, Dominate? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in, my dude. But I do see it being closer, probably 60-40 to start. And I think the more and more Dobbins is going to flash his playmaking upside, the sooner Ingram continues to relinquish those reins. And may call it a gut feeling, but I do think Ingram at age 40, no, not 40, age 31, it could get dinged up. He's been injury prone in his career. He's missed time on almost every single season. And if and when that happens, I don't think Dobbins relinquishes the job. So I'm very high on him. Absolutely. So Nyheim Hines, keep him on your radar for sure. PPR upside. The next guy that I wanted to discuss here, and I've already bumped him up. So I just want to show you how high I bumped him up and keep reiterating. Reagor's upside is insanity. I've already bumped him all the way up to 88. Huge upside. I'm going to bump John Brown actually down below him. Even though I love John Brown, I really think Jalen Reagor could. Oh, I got to 1 sec. This whole time I haven't even been showing you the big board. My goodness. That's so again, Jalen Reagor, 87 overall. You see, let me just show you real quick, summarize the guys. Nyheim Hines. Showed you the news, but not where they ended up ranking. Bumped up to 108. Again, I'm going to bump Montgomery up in a second, but you see, this tier of like upside number 2s. James White clearly got the bump down in the light of Damian Harris. Hold on, where is he? showing you guys. I bumped Damian Harris right into that top 100 as we just talked about. So those are some of those names we talked about. And as you can see here, Jalen Reagor. So I'm going to go off and then come back in so you can see the clip here. Jalen Reagor, enormous upside. Every single day, you find a new nugget on this guy, dominating camp, being a monster over the middle, going deep over Darius Slay, just end zone fades, everything. All it sounds to me is like a true alpha number one. And he's always had that athleticism, that build. I mean, he's not the prototypical like 6'3", blazing DK Metcalf freak, but he is so quick and sudden. He's moving into the slot where that will be capitalized upon, and 3 wide receiver sets moving outside and 2 wide receiver sets, always with the ones. He's just got monster potential. He's another one of those guys like Damian Harris, Jalen Reagor, Jerick McKinnon. I try to get in every single best ball draft. There's no reason to leave your draft. If he's fallen to like round 9, 10, you have to scoop him up. So big Jalen Reagor fan. Has the hate on Le'Veon Bell gone too far? RB3 in round 4. Hard to see how he doesn't return value. Well, I think that's a great segue. And great to see you again. You're tuning in every day, my man. It's much appreciated. Le'Veon Bell getting gaced again. Shocker. I think I'm actually bumping him down. To me, and I'd love to hear your discussion here, RJ Nuo, or however I say that. What gives you reason to want to invest into this guy? Ultimately, we're already seeing him now play behind Gore at times in practice. Now, I know that's not going to be the case during the season, but still, Gase is going to have a role. Gore. It's just disgusting to me. The way that they're doing that. Then they go and trade for Balaj, another Gase, just gross product. And it's like he's sitting out with hamstring tightness. And then Bell's tweeting, I don't have hamstring tightness. It's like they're trying to set him up to fail. I don't get it. But why would I take, a guy like this? And I'm going to bump down Melvin Gordon as well. I'm not into this tier of bell cows anymore. Give me the upside of Cam Akers over them. I don't like those round 3 bell cows after the Taylor drop. Like I can still stay aboard James Conner because if he stays healthy, he's going to be a beast. I can stay aboard Todd Gurley because just a couple seasons ago, he was an absolute monster and he's going to be in a good offense. But Bell and Gordon, I just don't see it. So we see, healthy Darnold, positive TD regression, safe receiving floor, improved offensive line. All those things are like, yeah. So maybe Darnold take a step forward. Yeah, maybe the line takes a step forward. I still don't see this offense ever being better than 23. Like the line won't be better than 25th in the league. So yeah, they all take a step forward, but is there any reason to like it? What about Gore, going in and taking the touchdowns? Very realistic, plausible situation. And they draft Pirine too, who's been decent in camp. Like I think it's going to be much more of a committee than people think. I think Bell's going to maybe have the lose some of those most valuable touches, the receptions to Pirine, the touchdowns to Gore. Why take him over some of these receivers who could blow up and be an alpha number 1 for you eventually? So I just don't like Gase. He just sucks the talent out of all his players, and it's not for me. Not for me. I like this question a lot, Eckler or Drake. And I think Eckler is probably one of the most asked people over this last week. And I just will show you now. I have him up at number 9. So Eckler is above Drake. He's above Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams. I love Austin Eckler. When he falls to round 2, I smash that button and I don't think twice. I even with these migraines and these holdout talks have thought about bumping Eckler and Mixon. I don't know if I'll go and do that quite yet, but it's in the discussion at least because I just genuinely love Austin Eckler. You're getting him at RB13 right now on average. He was the RB4 with Gordon there last year, was the RB2 when Gordon was out. So I don't see any world this guy doesn't finish top 13 on running backs. So you're buying him at his floor, but the ceiling is, we've already seen it, top 4, top 3, top 2, even when he's the guy. And he might be the guy all year. So ultimately, are we worried about Josh Kelly? Are we worried about Justin Jackson? Stop it. This is Austin Eckler's backfield. They paid him like a true horse. They're going to use him as a true horse. Even if those other guys are in, he's going to be in the slot getting peppered. It's the Austin Eckler show. So I love this guy compared to, Miles Sanders, Kenyon Drake. Like Eckler just feels safer. His floor is higher and his ceiling is just as high. So why not go with him? Eckler's my guy. late round 1, early round 2, and I've been getting him in mid round 2 at times, which is just embarrassing. Like to anybody else drafting, Eckler is my absolute guy there. So yes, I love Eckler. That's the play. Back to our other followers, as you saw, Melvin Gordon got a bump down. At this point, I think our early intent with him, we were high on him early. If you took him because we were high on him early, my apologies. But he gets knocked out of practice with a rib injury. He was already out of shape and looking kind of sluggish. And then since he's been knocked out, now he's returned. But since then, Philip Lindsay's been thriving, looking good as a pass catcher, which is the big area that Gordon was supposed to have the stranglehold. And if Gordon's just not better, the coach has already said it's going to be, you won't know who the starter is because their touches are going to be so close. What's the point of him? I just don't see it. Like, I'd rather have Kareem Hunt and that type of upside. I'd rather have Swift and his like clear-cut receiving upside. I'm off the train completely. And maybe I've gone insane and this guy does get the bell cow role from Pat Shurmur, then I look like a moron. But I've really taken a huge downturn on Melvin Gordon, Le'Veon Bell, another one of those. Like, why? Get these receivers. Get yourself a running back, Jonathan Taylor, round 3, so you don't have to think about these guys, or you're just taking Cam Akers and Swift for a little bit of upside. That's how I view those running backs, and those why he's fallen quite a bit in my rankings. Last couple here to go through is some forgotten handcuffs. I've risen them in my rankings. They might even need a little more. I feel like everybody knows Chase Edmonds. Everybody knows your, all the upside guys. Chase Edmonds. You got your, sorry, mental break. I'm getting him. You got Chase Edmonds. You got Tony Pollard. The clear cut. Like, if the guy goes down, they're RB1s. But why does nobody talk about DeAndre Washington like that? I mean, anytime he started last year in the Oakland offense, he was an RB1. He scored 18 points every time he started. He was a top 10 running back every time he started. And now if he ever gets starts, he's going to be in the Chiefs offense, not the disgusting Raiders. Like, this one doesn't add up. Why don't we discuss DeAndre Washington in the same light as we do Tony Pollard and Chase Edmonds? He needs to be. He's just as much upside if something happens to Hilaire. This isn't me saying I don't like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Let me just remind you where I have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Number 4 overall. I couldn't be higher on Clyde Edwards-Helaire unless I want to put him with these elite horses. And in all honesty, he could outscore all of them because he could score 20 touchdowns in a Pat Mahomes offense. But all those narratives that apply to Edwards-Helaire, who I think is an obvious better player than DeAndre Washington, but Washington is very solid. He's played with Mahomes before. And if he goes down, Washington's a capable receiver. Washington's a capable goal line guy. He would be a 3-down back for all the reasons that I have Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 4, outside of a little bit of a talent gap, not as enormous as some people might think. So Washington, if something happens to Hilaire, would be a top 10 running back. So why don't we talk about him like that? Why don't we put him with Chase Edmonds? I think we need to start doing so. And Benny Snell's the other one who I've been bumping up quite a bit. A little low here. I think I'm going to keep him going. You see above Kerryon Johnson, who I just absolutely hate. I think the Bryce Love, I got a little horny, and I think he needs a little bump down here just because he's running with the 2s clearly, and Gibson's still with the 1. So it's like, Gibson's just separating that much further. And I just think, if you guys forgot about Antonio Gibson, just showing you, I'm damn high on him too. Everybody, with a brain is, but for some reason I get him in round 9, 10 in every draft. These guys I'm just getting every time. Reagor, Gibson, Zach Moss, and now, the late round guys too, McKinnon, Harris. Like, I want to come up with those 5 guys on my bench. That's my perfect bench. My dream bench. That's a good topic, is my dream bench. So I'll just type that out for you. Dream bench would be, you got Reagor, Harris, McKinnon, and this isn't in order necessarily of where you have to draft them, and Zach Moss. This is my dream bench, guys. Make sure you get that. Reagor, Harris, McKinnon, Zach Moss, obviously Mecole Hardman. Like, those are what you want on your bench. Hardman. You want those blow-up style guys. And now DeAndre Washington, you can get so late that you get those upside ones. I guess Nyheim Hines now in that conversation for elite bench as well. Let me know some of your targets too. Always down to that. I got CEH in 1 draft, and I was leery. Are you really confident in him this year? I mean, I just showed you him at number 4, Steve. I am dead confident on him. I would rather have CEH than Miles Sanders. And it's not really even close, as you see. I guess it's within 9 spots of each other, but when you're that tied in the draft, 9 spots means everything. Again, 4 overall. I am dead serious about him. I'm so confident in him. So I absolutely love it. The question is, as Tim Gray says, can McKinnon stay healthy? It's a great question. We haven't seen it yet, but when I can get him in round 14, and if he's healthy, he's going to be the third down back, so he's going to catch 50 balls, and I can get him again in round 13, 14, I'll stomach that injury risk all day for the upside, because what if he takes over the rushing job too? So that's why I have McKinnon top 100. A lot of these guys just shooting for upside with my bench. Guy drafted CEH over Zeke in my league. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely some Hilaire fever, and I think it deserves to be there. Washington. Not sure what you're saying, Omar. Washington. I mean, I've talked about DeAndre Washington and how I think he's one of the best upside handcuffs that nobody seems to talk about. But yeah, I think he's totally worth that. And then, David Montgomery, the last guy I wanted to cover. His injury's not as serious. I knee-jerked, was like, crap, he's going to be out 5 weeks. Even still, I'm like, okay, do I really want him above, Jordan Howard, sure, Tariq Cohen. He goes above him as a starter, but I was already low on him. I think I had him at like this range, like right around AJ Green. And now he's out for maybe the first week, maybe the first 2 weeks. Instead of working in and assimilating and getting into that game shape ready, he's rehabbing now. And that's, you enter the season with a slower start. So not only is he going to be a little bit behind when he finally gets going, so he might miss a few weeks, then he's a little bit behind and takes some time to get it going. This is going to be a shorter year potentially. I don't want a guy that's going to take 5 weeks to really develop. And when he ultimately does develop, what are we getting? I'll wait 5 weeks for a J.K. Dobbins, who could be like a top 12 guy. We've seen Montgomery, and we saw him get 270-ish touches last year, and he did absolutely nothing with them. What has improved about his situation? No line moves have been made. Trubisky's still the quarterback. Maybe Foles takes over. Either way, I'm not high on either of them. Tariq Cohen's still going to steal a lot of receiving work. So what's better about him? He was in shape and running around in camp a lot faster. Where did that get us? He's hurt, and now he's going to be starting slower, more sluggish. He's just on my I'm not drafting list. Give me Zach Moss. Give me Damian Harris. Give me these upside bench guys. Like, give me Jordan Howard. I like Jordan Howard's touchdown upside. I moved him up, and it's like, I don't want him. I'd rather have frickin' McKinnon than David Montgomery. I don't want David Montgomery. Is my hate going too far? Let me know. But I don't see any reason to like this guy. Do you think they bring in someone with Monty out? If so, who could that be? The logical dot connecting is Devonta Freeman. So if that happens, then I like David Montgomery even less. That's another thing, Omar, that you're bringing up here is what if he has more competition soon? So what is the reason to draft this guy? Why would you want David Montgomery? You got to get volume. We've seen him with volume. What did it do for you? Nothing. It did nothing. He had a handful of good weeks. Get Montgomery off your draft radar. There's just no reason to have him. He's not going to bring anything to your table. Alrighty, guys, that's all I have for risers, fallers, and all that. Outside of the last handful I wanted to cover, just for like the more high stakes crowd, or if you're doing like a 20-round draft or a tight end premium, there's a couple names that have really started to emerge at the position. And that is, I've already bumped them up a bit, Logan Thomas and Devin Asiasi. All the camp rage these days. As you can see, I have my Seahawks guys above them. But after that, it's like, I'll take a stab at a potential number 1 tight end over Jimmy Graham, or Tyler Eifert, I guess, is making some moves in camp. But like Everett doesn't do anything for me. The tight end is ridiculously deep, by the way. So that's why, if I get Kelsey, great. If not, I'm waiting till round 15, 16. There's no reason to go any earlier. And these are 2 guys that are emerging that give me some hope that I don't have to go earlier. Logan Thomas catching a touchdown a day in camp, a favorite of Haskins, seems to be a potential number 2 behind McLaurin right now, and nobody talks about that. Like, there should be some more volume for just in general, because they were the 5th slowest offense of the last 20 years. They're going to pick up the pace because the Panthers were number 1 in pace last year. So just naturally more plays coming. So I like him. And then Devin Asiasi is getting praise from Cam Newton every day. Their rapport is strong. He's doing great as a blocker as well. Like, the Patriots know a thing or two about finding good tight ends in the draft, I'd say. And he's the one that's checking all the boxes so far. Keen's looking okay too, but that's who I want. RJ Nuo saying he's Team Gesicki and Jonnu. I love Jonnu. I tweeted about how I'd rather have him over Gronkowski. As you can see, my rankings tight end 11. So I really like Jonnu Smith. All about that, yeah. But I do also think Hurst is worth the hype. I have him at, as this question asks here, it's the situation more so than Hurst, I would say. You're looking at an offense that under Dirk Cutter has religiously peppered tight ends, whether he was with the Falcons last year and Hooper was the number one tight end until he got hurt, whether it was with the Bucks for those 3 or 4 years, and we saw OJ Howard breaking out, best used, was like averaging 16 yards a catch, insane verticality. Before that, you go back to like Mercedes Lewis having 10 touchdowns with the Jaguars. You go back to Tony Gonzalez having some monster years, some decent talents, but then some also talents that we've seen, flounder without him there. So I think the tight end's a crucial part of the scheme. Then you go out and give a second round pick to get the tight end after you lose Austin Hooper. And I think they do that because they needed a guy real badly. And you don't give up that type of draft capital if you didn't have this guy severely, significantly ranked high in your board and significantly respect the athleticism. Then you get him working out with Matt Ryan, driving from Florida. And he's, they're forming a great rapport. He's saying he's the most athletic guy he's ever worked with, the fastest guy. It certainly makes sense as a 10th rounder. I'm all about it. Is Kittle worth a round 3 keep? I'm very torn because I want to lock up T, but it's deep. So yes, that's about where I have Kittle ranked. So you're not gaining a ton of value. Matt, depends to me. Like, do you have a better option, Jack? Is there a better keeper you could have? And that's an opportunity cost keeping Kittle. Because if so, there's a lot of guys I would keep over Kittle. If you get a better bargain on him, you're not gaining a ton of value with that keeper. If that's your best guy, and you're gaining a little value. So yeah, just do it to have the guy and have it locked up. But it is deep, so let me know. Then we're getting here. Keep an eye on Jordan Reed in deep leagues. Intriguing point here. Let's think about this. Limited wide receiver options means San Fran might run a bunch of 2 tight end sets. Adams in Seattle can only cover 1. Simmons in Arizona can only cover 1. Interesting points here. And I don't think I even have him ranked. So you know what? I'm buying it. I'm buying that. I think ML, I like the points you're making. Like, why have these guys above, again, with Jimmy Graham and stuff, all those receiver injuries, why aren't we talking about Jordan Reed potentially getting more targets? Now, of course, let's see Jordan Reed stay healthy. And as a lot of people, including myself, maybe never will I ever take Reed. Like, he's burned a lot of bridges, but instead of spending a 5th rounder or a 6th rounder for his upside, now we're taking him with a last round stab. So I could see it being worthwhile. So here's your choices. Kittle for 3, Eckler for 5, or DJ Moore for 6. And you can only keep 1. I'd say Kittle's my last option of those guys. I actually have Eckler higher than him. So getting him for a 2-round cheaper discount is a no-brainer to me. Eckler's your locked-in guy there. Now, if you can keep 2, I would also keep DJ Moore because I have him ranked. Let's go to the rankings here, the big board. I'll show you. I have him right alongside Kittle. I get the Kittle hype, and I get without the receivers there, the upside could be all that much more monstrous. But, DJ Moore is, within 10 spots, but you're gaining 3 rounds of value, 36 spots of value. I go for that because then that gives you that flexibility. So first it's Eckler, but if you're keeping 2 is what I'm saying, I would go Eckler and I would go DJ Moore there. Guys always hurt, as he says. And I know not many agree, but Reed is arguably a better route runner than Kittle. Well, I liked your point here, but come on. Now this just sickens me. And I might just take Reed off my big board if I'm taking tips from that. Come on, ML. Horrible. I think you're too low on Jarwin. So that's a one I'm happy to talk about. And that's a hill I'm willing to die upon. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, because there is going to be a nice touchdown share available in this offense. I have Jarwin here at 22. But to me, he's clearly behind the 3 receivers. He's definitely behind Zeke. So now we're looking at the 5th on the target totem pole here. Is there going to be enough that you could truly depend on this guy every week? Probably not. I want a potential higher volume guy. I get he's athletic. I get Jason Witten got some good targets last year, but I think Jason Garrett is actually a huge tight end, just pepperer. I would see I have a hard time believing Jarwin was going to clearly carve out that value. We've also seen in Green Bay 0 tight ends have value outside of Jermichael Finley, no matter whether it was Jared Cook, who goes and breaks out in Oakland the year after he leaves there. Jimmy Graham did nothing. Like there's after catching 15 touchdowns, did nothing there. I'm into that narrative that it's just maybe it was a Rodgers thing, but I don't think McCarthy uses his tight ends, so I'm not a huge fan of him. Question here on COVID. My league has 3 IR spots. Are there any injured guys worth drafting for late season upside? If yes, who are they? When should I start looking at them? I think that's a great question, Tunes, and I haven't given a ton of thought to it yet. I know Mike Williams is starting injured, so if people just don't draft him and he falls around like 15 and it gives you an IR spot, solid. I can't think of too many, though, off the top of my head. Anybody watching this that's already given this some thought, feel free to comment in because I think that's a great question. I wish I had better answers for you, but so far, most people have been pretty healthy. So I think that's something I have to research. Right now, I don't have a great answer for you. The only one I could think of is Mike Williams, who's going to be out about 4 weeks, they're saying. Deebo Samuels, obviously. I think the fact that he's running sharp routes, he's the type of guy. So this is what I would answer this one with, Tunes, is guys like Deebo who might start week 1 but are like on that cusp. You have, and as Omar's pointing out, he's falling some. Guys like maybe even David Montgomery, who's hurt, that you could probably slap in there, but I don't like David Montgomery. I'd rather have Deebo. So let's go to Deebo. He's falling to round like 10 a lot of times now in my best ball drafts, but he's also running routes at full speed, they're saying, very sharply, cutting hard. So there's a good chance he's going to be there week 1. And if so, where were we drafting this guy before the injury? Round 5, 6, exactly where he belonged. So he's a guy I'm gobbling up. And now if you have a IR spot baked in like this, if you have 3 IR spots baked in, so maybe you have to wait a week or 2, but you can stash him like that, now his value goes up even more in your league. So I would be looking at guys like that. I can't think of any guys that are like clearly on the IR for the next like 6 weeks or anything like that. But a guy like Deebo Samuel is who I'll say is this answer, and a guy I find myself landing quite often. Yeah, he's falling way too far. Let me just look at where I have Deebo Samuel, because he's a guy that I find myself landing in almost every best ball. I've done like 5 in the last couple of days. I've gotten kind of that best ball addiction going right now. Let me find him. Hold on. Deebo Samuel's 96. I think that's actually too low based on what we've talking about. So I'm glad you brought that up. He's falling way too far. AJ Green, another one Jeremiah bringing up. He started practicing, though. He's returned to practice, so he seems ready to start the year. I'm going to get Deebo up in this range. What's Singletary bringing to the table? Singletary to me is just a more expensive, Philip Lindsay, who's a better player. So I'm going to, get Singletary out of your draft plans too. Yeah, Deebo, that bump up. I'm glad you brought my attention to that, Tunes. Way too low in rankings right now, given that he's running at full speed. I got to write that down as a priority to get done today. Deebo, Sammy, rising. Thank you, Tunes. You've helped me realize I needed to get some guys higher. All righty. I'm going to just scroll through, and if you guys have any more questions, let them rip. But I'm just going to kind of give the summary of my big board. Just for anybody watching here. So that way you can, let me take the banners off, just get a general sense of my overall philosophy here. And then hopefully that helps give you a great overview. Again, any questions, get them all in now. But you see the horses. I'd consider Thomas and Adams getting one of those guys in round 1 to get with another horse. Eckler, one of the best discounts. I think I bump Julio below these guys because I need my horse. Jacobs losing the receiving work, it makes me nervous for him, but I still think I would get another Bessie, another bell cow if I could. But thankfully, Austin Eckler is typically there for us. And then you get your upside wide receiver ones here. Evans, thriving in camp. I see him way too low these days. Or you get your Travis Kelce edge. And then Jonathan Taylor, that round 3 smash. I like Leonard Fournette where he's falling. I don't like Leonard Fournette, but at this price, you're getting a bell cow. He probably won't get that receiving work. Actually, definitely won't. The 100 targets aren't happening with Chris Thompson there. But the touchdown, could regress enough to make up for it. This guy was RB7 last year. If he stays healthy, he'll probably be a top 10 guy that you can get in round 3. So he's in there. And then you get those upside, like potential wide receiver ones that I love there. You move through, you see Odell. I'm not as high on him. Most people would have him above DK, above Lockett, but not a big Odell guy this year. I love the player. Don't love the scheme. He's going to be in a low volume passing attack. See, I have McLaurin right there up his ass, so very close. A lot of upside wide receiver 2 types here. Acceptable wide receiver ones if you go really heavy RB. But yeah, then the upside, round 5, 6 running backs I like, with Melvin Gordon, Le'Veon Bell taking a big tumble this week. And Tyler Boyd, the clear number 1 for Burrow. Very safe, very steady. You get your Evan Ingram edge potentially right there. I love getting Edelman in round 7, 8, some guys I like a lot. Dobbins is, that guy that's fallen to round like 7, 8 that I seem to end up with most times. But I might even have Antonio Gibson higher by the end of this weekend if he keeps it up. You see, I bumped in Deebo Samuel to this range, especially if you can get him as a 4. I think he could be, within a couple of weeks back and running and, right back into the mix as their number 1. And he would have been he would have been up here if everything is all healthy and good, and it could easily come out that way within the next couple of weeks. And then you move into your Cowboys. A lot of people think I'm too low on Gallup. I say CeeDee Lamb, but I am going to have Jalen Reagor above them both. I'm going to have Reagor above these quarterbacks. In fact, I'm going to get all these receivers above these quarterbacks. Maybe not them all, but the upside rookie guys, I'm going to move up. Maybe I bumped Singletary a little too low, but I love all these guys for my bench, and that's why I might even bump these quarterbacks down a little bit more. We got a couple comments. So let me check those. Paris Campbell too low, second-year breakout, slot wide receiver, ran faster 40 than Hardman. I see it, but okay, so how is Hines going to see the most receptions in camp, and then Pittman's going to blow up, and Hilton's looked as good as he's ever had, and then the tight ends are a huge part of the scheme, and it's Phillip Rivers and his noodle arm playing quarterback. Like, how can all of these guys break out? Now, maybe Campbell outbreaks all of them, and he's the best option, sure, but his path to volume is pretty congested, and it's from a quarterback that I just don't want to put too much stock in. Never mind the fact that I think they're going to be a very ground and pound heavy attack. Like, they're going to want to be the Titans of last year. So a small pie from a quarterback I don't like that has a ton of mouths to feed. I think, there's a clear alpha in TY, and then it's just, unpredictable behind him is kind of how I view that one. Any word on Ayuk, asks Omar. He had a little hamstring tweak. It wasn't supposed to be serious. I'm not sure if he's back yet. I don't think he is, but he is expected to be ready for week 1. So I haven't sent him, flying down by any means. But yeah, this is, again, our upside bench range. You can kind of just take a quick glance at some of the names. And again, guys, I'm low on, like David Montgomery. Give me the upside running backs, David Harris, Jerick McKinnon. I don't want 250 ugly carries. I want the moonshots. Give me these receivers, Darius Slayton, all that good stuff. So I don't love those guys. I like my upside handcuffs here. I think Benny Snell needs to get kind of in this mix. So, yeah, this is about right. Henderson would be higher. So, yeah, that's kind of the big board. So any other questions you have? Do you think Brady can trust Ronald Jones enough to have breakout potential? Let me see where I have him. And the answer is yes. He has had some bad drops. Like, you see that video and everybody just says, now Ronald Jones, bury the guy. Where do I have freaking Ronald? Oh, right here, 71. So I think there is some upside. Ultimately, I would have Dobbins sided over him. But if you needed a clear set of carries, let's say you did go, receiver earlier, I think he's definitely going to be the early down guy. I think Vaughn is a non-thing anymore. I don't want anything to do with Keyshawn Vaughn. And so if Jones is the early down guy and the touchdown guy, that alone will come with some value. If he becomes the third down guy too, then we're talking some really explosive potential. The guy looked pretty good in his running, anytime we've seen him running the ball in camp. So I like Ronald Jones. I haven't ended up with him too much because at that point, I'm looking for my fourth running back. I'd rather have the upside of Dobbins. But I see the case for Ronald Jones. I think he makes a fine pick, especially if you want volume, certainly above guys like David Montgomery, David Johnson, like the guys that just don't excite me at all. I would have him above. Alrighty, guys. So that's our big board update for the 28th of August. A lot of drafts happening this weekend. I'll do my best. If you have questions over the weekend, hit me up at Roto Street Wolf. I'll do my best to get to them, but I also have my own drafts and a couple of birthday parties and things I can get into, so I cannot promise you I get you in a draft, but I'll do my best to help everybody out before then. We'll be doing our daily draft wizards next week. And if you do want some help in getting ready for your drafts, and I can't get to you, I do want to make sure I pump, as it's been showing on the bottom line there, the Pete Frates guide. If you donate to the Pete Frates Family Foundation at petefrates.com/roto, or you want to learn more at rotostreetjournal.com/Frates, you can get our off-season Bible. We update every day with the news and notes. I'm writing all my featured articles in there. So if you want the Wolf's thoughts on all these risers and fallers that we've been talking about here, do some good. Donate to an amazing cause about, a great family. He's a local guy from my hometown, still friends with his brother. So it means a lot to me. And we're not asking for money for ourselves. We want to raise it for that Scott Fish Bowl, great foundation. So we've got a big goal, hopefully trying to hit, maybe too big at 1,000 this late in the draft season, but help us hit there, help us reach it. To donate to a great cause. It's not about us at all. It's about this great cause. So check that out. DM us if you have any questions or technical issues with it or anything of that nature. We'd be glad to help you out. And as Tune says, Bible's worth it and the cause is even better. So awesome. I'm glad you found it so far. We'll be updating again next week. My draft is Sunday. Yep. We'll do this every Friday. Now, next Friday, it might be a little later because I'm back in school. So I don't think I can do the 10 a.m., but I'll try to hit that like Friday 4 or 5 o'clock next week. I'll make sure to do another one of those. And ML, thanks for tuning in. I love the interaction. Don't let my Jordan Reed hate scare you off, brother. Thanks, guys, so much for tuning in. Again, if you listen to the podcast, the Fantasy Fullback Dive, we pave your path to 2020 titles. Reviews and subscriptions mean the world to us, help us get discovered. And if you're on the website, rotostreetjournal.com, you can find all our good stuff. Check out that guide, though. If we've helped you at all, that's my biggest thing the rest of summer. If we've helped you at all, do a good cause, donate, and then give us some feedback on what you think of the guide so we can keep making it better and better for you next year. Alrighty, guys, I am out. That's a long send-off, but thanks so much for tuning in. You guys are awesome. Have a great weekend, great Friday. Best of luck in your drafts.